Okay, so I'm going to start the demo. This is the base JS file, and what I have here, this is taking a little bit more of a zoomed in focus compared to the previous weeks. I have here a subset of Weibo locations. These are the place POIIDs that we're used to. And the subject for today is going to be taking a subset of these points in an area that's of particular interest to me and using our big zip file of all the Weibo comments to parse through those comments and figure out some kind of structure for the kind of comments that people are leaving. We're going to try to look at the actual comment data, the actual text data, and use Python to infer some kind of knowledge about what people are talking about at that place in relationship to all other places in the city. Okay, so what I've done here is I focused on area Shenzhen. This is within the context of all of our place IDs in Shenzhen, Hong Kong. I've picked this place, which is OCT Loft in Shenzhen. This is a kind of creative artist community that's very well known in Shenzhen. And my hypothesis for today's demo is that there's something about this place which is unique, and we want to understand what that thing is, and we want to understand how that's different from the rest of the city and whether there's other places in the city that are like this in some way. We're going to bring zero assumptions to this about how it might be unique. We just know that this area is particularly interesting, and there might be something in the comments that people leave that will show how this place is unique. Okay? As bigger kind of methodology, I'm going to look at all of these places. I'm going to store all the different words that people use in a big kind of list. I'm going to do the same thing for a sampling of other locations in the city that aren't in this area. I'll cross-compare those lists and see which words are most common in both. So those will be theoretically just generally common words. Which words are only common in this area but not elsewhere in the city, and which words are common elsewhere in the city but not here. Okay? That is already a kind of pretty good application. From there we can search for those words or do further processing about if those words are interesting or not. But we can also then use those words as feature data, because now we've assigned some kind of processing to language. We can put some numbers behind it, like frequencies of these words being used. Those numbers can become features for a machine learning application. Okay, so here I have my setup. I have these Weibo selected OCT dots. These are just the ones you see that have some information about title, which help me pick them. If I go into the attribute table, I have all the information here, and then I have all of the Weibo check-in locations here as well with all their information. And what I did ahead of time, and this is included in the data you downloaded from Dropbox, all you need is these two data files. The first one is just a list of the place IDs of OCT. There should only be a few dozen of them. And the other set is all the place IDs in a list of all of Shenzhen. And I've done this in previous days using the same tools we've used before, basically stripping all the data except place IDs and then using this simple export to export that CSV file of locations. Okay, so you have this map and these two data files. And additionally, you have the big zip file of all of the check-in comment data that we generated before. Okay, I have it here in my data collection. Here, this zip file. Okay, I'm going to start a new script. And the first part of this is pretty similar to what we did in the graph tutorial. We need to import this zip file. We need to start parsing through the zip file. So I'm going to do this pretty quickly. First thing I need to do is set my directory for where my zip file is. So it's in here. I just need to set this path in Python so I can find the zip file into here. Before, I was always working out of one working directory, but because I don't really want to be moving this huge zip file, I'm just going to set separate variables, one for the whole zip file. So here I'm going to actually also attach the name of this file. Okay, so this variable just contains the path to that zip file. Okay, and I can always open it using this variable. And then, like always, I'm going to set my working directory. This will just be the path. And for this demo, I'm going to use this demo class. This is my data that I have to initially work with. Okay, and we're going to use this working directory for when we generate other data. It's all going to go into that folder. And then I need to set the actual file name of where my OCT point ID data is, right? These are the points I'm going to specifically look at that are interesting to me. And this is this OCT data file. Okay, so this will be my working directory and that file. All right, and then in this example, just like before, I'm going to use some random functions. And random is a really good thing to use when you're doing machine learning. You're subsampling different pieces of data, whether it's for separating between training and validation sets or just sampling a portion of a very large data set. You should always shuffle your data before. So to do that shuffle, we need the random library. And we also, right away at the top of our script, need to set the seed of the random. All right? And if you don't know what the seed is, basically random in computers is a pseudo-random. So it creates results that seem random, but they're prescribed. Okay? They basically take some seed value and convert that into a random number. If you want that random result to be the same, so you want repeatable, you want your script to run and generate the same results every time, you need to actually specify the seed. If you don't specify it, it uses something like the current time, which is always changing. Okay? So we always want, even though we want a random subsample, we want that subsample to always be the same, so when we're troubleshooting, it's not changing every single time. This is pretty common to just set the seed right after importing. All right, so now I'm going to read in all of the POIDs from the OCT data text file. This is kind of an initial processing step, just like before. I'm going to create an empty list called target list. This is just going to contain all my place IDs. And then I'm going to open up this target file for reading as F. And then this is the exact same thing as always. And we're going to read in the file. We're going to split that data into different lines, put it into the entries array. I'm going to pop off the first entry because it contains descriptions. Now we're going to shuffle the data. So this isn't super important in this case because we're going to use all the place IDs. But in other case, if you want to use a much bigger data set of place IDs, as you're troubleshooting, it's good to just take a sample of that and work through all your codes. You're not waiting for hours every time you want to troubleshoot something. So in this case, this is just best practices. We shuffle the data, and then we iterate over all the entries, and we put each entry, each place ID, into our target list array. Okay, so in this case, we're using all of them, but in another case, if we had like thousands of them, we could take a subsample, like the first 1,000. Because we shuffled them, we know we're taking them randomly from the sample. In this case, there's only 36. We're just going to use all of them. Okay, and then I just have some kind of print statement to make sure that I read in all of those entries into that list. So this should print out 36 in our case. Okay, we'll just like run this iteratively, see 36. So we've now filled this list with all the POIDs.